Welcome to Life Fit with the DVD. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. The lighting is all sorts of weird today. Um, Today I wanted to talk about how reconciling your past can free your future. So, what do I mean by that? What is reconciling your past? What is freeing your future, right? And you know, this is just a sense that I have gotten the past few days when I look at how far I have come as a person over my 37 years of existence, right? Um, I used to think that I knew it all. I used to think I was walking a path of like, oh yeah, I know. Like I know what is best for myself, for me, um, and you know, a lot of it is just faking it, right? A lot of it is just, um, if people ask you a question of who are you going to vote for, and you think you've made an informed decision, well, I'm here to tell you that you probably haven't, because the layers to which our world runs are unfathomably deep to a degree that we really can only conclude that we don't know uh, anything. And I know that's kind of an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people. People like to be in certainty, they like to pretend that they know, because when you pretend that when you want to be certain. When people ask you questions about, oh, a job interview, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Well, personally, I have had a lot of trouble answering that specific question, because you can state where you would like to be in 5 years, but is that really where you're going to be? Probably not, right? So to answer that question realistically is almost near impossible. There's so many factors in this world. There's so many things that we want and we want to do. And you may look at that as, oh, well, he just really doesn't know his vision, right? The vision isn't clear enough. And, maybe that's true to a degree. But you can have a vision and also be realistic about, you know, you're probably not going to be doing what you want in the next 5 years, because that's a lot of time. There's a lot of unpredictable things that can happen in that time. Uh, and to just ultimately be certain in that vision is really pretty pretty ignorant, pretty arrogant. That's just not possible. And I realized, like, oh well, yeah. For an interview though, you need to uh, exude confidence, and and just act like you have a vision, right? Because as I talk about it often here, it's like, act like you have what you want, and it can help it come true. And that is certainly the case. But ultimately, we need to find a balance. We need to find a balance between these things, and being certain. We can be certain of things internally, but also be realistic externally, that might not look exactly how we're dreaming it up, right? It might be a little bit different. um, sure, elements of what we are envisioning, what we're trying to create for ourselves, will be true. They will be, but not all of it. And to be certain about things is uh, just impossible. So I used to be certain about things. I used to pretend I had it all under control, and that I just knew. I knew things. I knew all sorts of things that really I think ultimately inside I knew I was lying about these things. I was lying to myself. Um, just because I felt like I should know, right? I felt like, oh, I need to have these things handled. Everybody else has it handled. And it's like, I'm still figuring these things out. So, like, I'm just going to pretend. I'm just going to pretend that, like, I know. I think I know. Um, because that's what everybody else seems like they're doing, right? But, I'm here to tell you that it's okay not to know. To say, I don't know, is an answer. And it's a perfectly acceptable one. Because if you really think through it, if you really think through the thought process of, you know, making any decision, there's so many different factors that if you do enough research, really come into play in any given decision. And when you realize that there's just so many different things that can go right or wrong in any individual given situation, you'll realize that you have no control over this. You have no certainty. And ultimately, when you start to release that pressure to know, to be certain, which ultimately that desire to be certain comes with a lot of anxiety, you will begin to free yourself. You will begin to free your future up to relax into that void, that abyss of uncertainty and imagination and wonder of things that can happen. Beautiful things, wonderful things that can happen in your life when you stop trying to be certain and act like you have everything under control. And I think for a lot of people, that comes down to what has happened in the past. Situations that you've been put in, things that have happened to you, just ways that you perceive your memories, your stories about what has happened to you that you want to be certain of. You want to have it. You want to have that narrative under control. but once again, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So, reconciling your past. When I say reconciling your past, you need to have certain things in your mindset of understanding things that have happened to you, right? Maybe you have interpreted them a certain way that makes you feel like a victim, makes you feel like, oh, I need to, you're on some redemption arc. You're trying to do something, or you need to be healed by something. You have to have, everything under control, all your ducks in a row before you take the next step in your future, in your vision, and towards the things that you want. But I'm here to tell you that you're never going to have that 100% complete. And the quicker that you learn that these narratives, these stories that we tell ourselves, that one extra thing that we need to do before we move on, we don't need any of it, right? We don't. And we just need to start. We need to start things before we're ready. And, maybe it's like you think that you need some sort of therapy or whatever before like you need to be mentally right before you move forward with certain things in your life. But ultimately, I just look back in my past and I realize it's like all you need to do is just let go of these things and just realize that any given situation that has happened to you in the past can be interpreted by you or anybody else a variety of different ways. There can be a variety of different perspectives, and if you just pick one that is maybe a little bit more empowering than another one that's maybe more victim or victim oriented, you're you're going to feel a lot better about it, but that's not even ultimately where you want to be. You just want to be at the point where you don't even think about it, right? Because it's not. There's no narrative, there's no story, there's literally nothing. But you have to get over the fact that you don't know. You don't know how anybody interprets this thing. You don't need to know how you need to interpret it. There needs to be, basically, the more you let go of the story, the more it will release you to be able to do the things that you want to focus on, and and envision and create. Um, and I just think that it's just, when I think back of my past, I've just spent so much time worrying about things I can't control, that, like, other people's perceptions, that I have no idea how they perceived a certain situation, or thought about it. And I don't think it's that, you shouldn't have regret or thoughts about these things. I think you should. I think there should be some reconciliation that takes place, but it's important to realize that it doesn't need to be a rumination. It doesn't need to. You don't need to keep delving into it, like I have done in the past, where it's like certain things happen, and then you just create this narrative around it, and it's like, well, oh, if I did this, where would I be? Or if I did that, if I said something different, would I still be in that situation that could have worked out, or might have been a better path? Forget it. Forget it. The decisions that you've made have brought you to where you are right now, in the moment, and that is exactly where you're supposed to be. And where you go from here is going to be up to you. It's going to be up to how you move going forward, how you focus your attention, how you spend your time, the things that you want to focus on, right? The more you think about these things, the more that you become more aware of the things that you want, and not just the things that you want internally, but how the world operates, because that's a process of knowledge, right? You need to understand that you don't know exactly how things work, but you need to know the mechanics of how things work, how the world runs, and how the world functions, how people function, the psychology of just how people perceive things, but also the knowledge to be able to let go and not care. Um, so this is a balancing. It's a balancing act. It's a bit of a duality. It's a bit of a paradox. And I know people don't like these things. It's hard to kind of mentally work through sometimes. And, given that our world does not value logic and teach it anymore, this is just such an important skill that we need to learn. But I feel like I'm going off topic at this point. So, ultimately, in reconciling the past, we do need to go through these things, but we can't, like, when I say go through these things, we should, grieve the wounds that, may have happened to us, spend some time healing them, and, if we need to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you want to go to a coach, go to a coach. Go the direction that you think that is going to benefit you. But at the same time, realize that it's important not to just fixate on it, right? Because if you fixate on it, it might come to define you. And ultimately, you want to define yourself in a way that you're going to be happy with. Don't let the past define you. Let the vision of your future actually do that for you. So I think I'll just leave it there for now, because ultimately, when you're envisioning your future, hey, you're free, right? You're free to envision it however you want, and ultimately, Yeah, like I said, some things will come true and some won't. But either way, it's okay. And just let go. Go into the uncertainty, exist in that void, try to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and see what happens. So I'll leave it there. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments. What have you had to let go in the past that has helped you move forward in the future, or what are you struggling with now that it just feels impossible to let go of? It'd be interesting to hear. So until next time, I will talk to you later. Thanks.